Hi again, everyone. Welcome back to Hamburg Mobile Summit Live. And this is the last panel discussion for today. We are about to watch and listen to the guys from world famous companies sharing their vision on the state of mobile gaming. And right now we are having our speakers in the studio as far as I see. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, Ted. Hi, Eric. Hi, Fraser and Albert.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
We are very excited for your discussion, and I yield the stage to Ted. Ted, keep it up.
Thank you, Igor, and good morning to everyone. Calling you from California. Welcome to Mobile Gaming Today panel. My name is Ted Verani. I'm head of business development for Wappier. Just real quick, Wappier, we offer an intelligent revenue management platform. What's that mean? Simply put, we help game developers make more money. We do that by offering automated loyalty programs that on top of the game, as well as we offer IAP pricing optimization, right price, right time, right location for different players. So, and that all happens outside core gameplay. So, enough about us. So clearly, mobile gaming today, it's a big market, right? It's a $70 billion business, half of video game revenues. But it's a competitive space, right? This is, how do you stand out from the crowd when you're launching a new game? What are the keys to success to keeping people to stick around long and play your game, for a long period of time? And indeed, how do you monetize those players? So that's a subject of today's conversation. We also want to talk about some trends that are currently facing the mobile gaming market too. So we're lucky to have a great group of panelists, all from different backgrounds too. So I like that a lot. So gentlemen, if you could maybe give yourselves just a quick little introduction and yourself and your company. I guess left to right, Eric.
Thanks, Ted. My name is Eric, and I'm CEO at the Dodreams game studio. We're the developers of Drive Ahead. Drive Ahead is a gladiator car fight game where you get points by hitting your friends in the head with a car. So this simple premise has allowed our game to grow organically to over 125 million downloads. So you could say it's the best of head-to-head battlers.
Okay. Fraser?
Yep, so I'm Fraser McInnes, Director of Business Development at Scopely. Scopely is a games company that's been around for around 8+ years now. We have several top grossing games in the charts right now. We've had some really big recent successes over the past couple of years with Star Trek Fleet Command, and more recently with Scrabble Go. And this year we completed our first big M&A transaction with Fox Next. So yeah, the company is growing and going from strength to strength, and we expect 2020, despite all of the terrifying global situations that are occurring, to be a very good year for us.
Albert?
Hi, I'm Albert. I'm a Director of Product and Live Ops at SquareEnix Mobile. So as you know, SquareEnix has like console, PC, and mobile division. We are based on the mobile division in the West, and since the strategy flipped in the company a couple of 3 years ago from going to premium games to free to play, and we are like working in a few games that are going to be some of them in soft launch soon to offer like the best quality products to the players.
Okay, good. All right, so today's Mobile Gaming Today. It's kind of hard to talk about mobile gaming. We're all calling from different places because we are safely at home. So let's talk about kind of what's impacting the world, but also from the perspective of mobile gaming. With the COVID-19 or the coronavirus. Certainly, we're all kind of lucky, compared to other industries, and we're coming out of shelter in place. But while people have been, confined in home, we, of course, massive usage of playing and, even revenues from that. Can each of you share with you? Maybe Fraser, I'll start with you. Can you share with us sort of how coronavirus has impacted your live games? And maybe if you have any thoughts also about, future as, we look forward to coming out of this.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Obviously, the common sense rationale is that when people are confined to their homes, they're spending more time on home media, and games are a big part of that. And we've certainly seen an engagement uptick that would go above what we would consider expected growth throughout coronavirus. So There are a number of titles in our portfolio that are all of the titles in our portfolio in general have been growing fairly steadily, but there's some that are growing above expectations, and we believe that is probably directly attributable to coronavirus. And in terms of how that trend is set to continue, I think that despite the fact that there has been this benefit for us over this period so far, we are still at the mercy of all of the same uncertainties that every other industry is at the mercy of right now. So without a clear sort of understanding of how the pandemic is going to pan out over the next 6, 12, 18 months, it's really hard to say what impact that's going to have on our business long term. But I think that we're very, very fortunate. We're in a very strong position in the industry that we're in, and also as a company. Scopely is a very well capitalized business, and we've got a lot of very strong titles in our portfolio. And I think the biggest impact that we felt is that we're all working from home more so than how it impacts our business.
Yeah. Okay. Eric, what would you like to share in terms of how coronavirus has impacted your business?
Well, we've been quite safe in Finland, but if you think of the vast number of people globally infected and who have lost their lives, it is very scary and very, very sad. Now, our previous success has been based on making a local multiplayer game. So a game you can play with family and friends on the same device. And now that people are in isolation, together with our team, we felt that it's our honor-bound duty to provide some relief and joy to people, entertainment in these difficult times. Of course, we don't want to, benefit from people's unfortunate circumstances. But still, as CEO of the studio, it's my responsibility to make sure that we come out of this pandemic stronger than before. And we all know that there is increased engagement in mobile gaming during COVID-19. People are spending more money on games, but this doesn't distribute evenly to all the games out there. So you have to be really think well, like how you're going to organize your live ops and your content, and also what kind of features you have in the game. And we've seen that games with very strong social features and multiplayer features are performing the best. And that has guided our game development. And I think that's something that we learned in this very extreme situation, and we're going to continue to focus on in the future as well.
Let me just, you mentioned one thing. So you talk about focusing a little bit on live ops, there too. And obviously that's critical, for any business of yours too. But what about from the perspective of you guys? Because, as an indie studio, right? But this also had quite a bit of success. Are you investing in new games, thinking that there's a payout, further down the road, or are you going to just double down on drive ahead and focus on live ops and just kind of, with the uncertain future that, Fraser mentioned also, focusing on that? How are you looking at that with your studio?
Well, Ted, you brought me to my favorite topic, which is strategy. So.
Uh-oh. You only have half an hour. Okay.
Yeah, okay, I'll do my best. No, so I'm a very strong proponent of resisting the risk of making new games. So I would argue that with the rising cost in paid user acquisition, though maybe temporarily CPIs are down, it's going to continue to grow. Most game studios cannot afford to make new games. So either you don't have the money to invest in the marketing, or even if you have the money, you can't live through the payback period. Okay. So thanks to our local multiplayer game design and the fact that we have a strong video community for Drive Ahead, where we get 100,000 players every day. So we cannot make a new game. So we're doing lots of new stuff, but we're testing them inside the original game, and then we'll see if should it be a standalone game or should it be more like a game mode in the existing one.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So for you guys, double down, focus. They're going to make total sense. Albert, much bigger company, right? Japan. You're in the studio there in London. What's your perspective on that? Maybe that same question, right? Are you going to you continue investing in new game? I guess you're working on a new game. So share with you kind of how's coronavirus affecting you guys.
Yeah. So well, regarding that and regarding COVID, just to summarize a little bit the comment and the question before, I think games in general have working in their own companies, but they have benefit from the COVID situation on that sense, but not all of them. I would say also there are some companies that might have struggled during this period, and some others that we might know I know some studios that have closed. But regarding to the games, that's as you say, that SquareEnix is like well capitalized and funded. So on that sense, it's pretty covered. And on the publishing side also, it's another way, to help and establish those partnerships with the developers, and and be able that to make that these kinds of periods or potential recessions or quarantines affect much less the development of the games, and we can feel all of us like covered and secured. In our case, we're building quite a few games right now. We're starting even new projects. The way we're approaching this, of course, is also taking into account the market trends, and also there's not a crystal ball. I think it's very difficult to know what's going to happen even in 6 months, because first there was a quarantine, so everyone could spend more at home, more money, but at some point this will affect, if people loses jobs, etc. This will affect the power purchase. So, and it will not be able to resist forever. And then what happens if everything goes back to normal, or there's another outbreak and everyone goes back home again? So it's very lot of uncertainty these days. In our case, as I said, we're keeping developing games, trying to invest in those genres or subgenres that we see they have a powerful trend, that they can, they can have a consistency in growing, not only with established players, but there's space for new players coming in and making their own space there and having creative.
On that subject, so uncertainty, change, kind of like the two. Look, we're all, despite our clever backgrounds, we're not in Hamburg. Or one of us is actually. We'll leave that to the audience to kind of guess which one. Oh, there we go, gave it away. But what?
Sorry, could have had fun with that.
And how does that impacted with game development? For you guys too, right? You're kind of used to. Eric, I'll start with you. Left to your right. It's like as you're used to being in your offices in Helsinki. It's like you're all together there collaborating stuff too. Now suddenly you're all kind of removed. Too, or maybe you are back together. I want to hear about how different companies are approaching this from remote. Eric.
Okay, we are still working remotely, though today I came to the office just to have a peaceful call with you guys. Yeah. And I think like the majority of the team are really enjoying it. Save time from the commute. You can have super focus on your task. If you're an artist, designer, programmer, it's tough for the leads. So they spend most of the day either on video calls or chasing the next one. And I think that despite this in the initial, honeymoon period with working from home, I do see some risk on the long term. I did earlier believe that game development is better when we're all in the same place, and I was proven wrong. I'm really glad that productions are moving forward and we have really great velocity and doing good stuff. But I'm really concerned that in the long term, we're going to lose this shared vision of the big picture where we're going, and that will start having negative impact on our alignment in the roadmap, and like what kind of features are we developing, what is the purpose of the feature, what KPIs do we want to improve, and then to make sure that we continue to have this good feedback loop, that we go live with stuff, we learn from it, we revise the roadmap. So we find that it's important to have these like certain get-togethers, like have a rhythm for the work week and the day. Make sure that you have the stand-ups and you have coffee, and when you have your Scrum team, that you have a video call to say goodbye, because if we don't see each other's faces for 3 months, the relationship will deteriorate. So that's what we're focusing on.
What about you, Albert? I mean, you're leading a product, right? You're product lead right now as a product director too with your game team. Does it change for you? Is this temporary or even permanent for you?
Yeah, so far it's temporary. We think to go back to the offices in a few months, but again, let's see. First is safety, and first is the people, and then there's the rest. No, so far we're working from home. The developers and different studios are working from home. We were expecting a higher, potentially, be ready for the worst, higher impact in the process and the development. Honestly, no. As Eric said, no. For example, in his case, like it has demonstrated that has shown that really the pace can be followed. I mean, the roadmap, the sprints, the development, the ideas. So for now, we're gonna keep like this for a few months at least, for sure, until and we encourage the developers also to work the best way for them. And yeah, in the future we'll see. It's true that eventually, at some point after X months, let's say 5-6 months, yeah, of course it can deteriorate. These things, is like screens is not the same as being in person and talk and joke around, and especially in this business, no, when it's like really, I think a lot about what I found in mobile gaming compared to other industries I've worked is like this friendship, this like way of like making it fun also. No, we're creating games. It's not like something boring. In the distance, it's more difficult, and I think people get a bit tired. All of us, me included, the first one, of calls, because of course you're not physically, so you need to contact here, contact there, contact the other one, and you start working at 7 p.m. maybe. It's like
yeah, it's hard to get that separation. I think a lot of people from home kind of too. Well, I mean, Fraser, anything you'd like to add? You don't necessarily have. I mean, I know you already work from home anyway, but
yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I think a large company like Scopely transitioning to everyone working from home, we've been very pleasantly surprised about how smooth that transition has been, and how much of what a lot of our game teams do on a daily basis can be done very effectively in a remote setting. Now, I think the key thing for us and for the broader industry in the future is going to be, what do we learn from this imposed remote working setup that everybody's involved in right now. And in the future, I think that absolutely all of the benefits of working face to face will remain as true as they were before coronavirus. And all companies, when lockdowns are lifted, are probably going to look to get everyone back together as quickly as possible and make use of those benefits. But at the same time, I think there are a number of benefits that we've been forced to realize as a result of coronavirus. And there's something to be learned there and carried forward as well. So we'll see how that evolves. But I can't imagine a situation in the future where nothing that has been garnered over this period isn't carried forward in some way. I think there's going to be some aspects of what we've learned over this last few months that will become more permanent.
Yeah, well, I can't imagine actually even just onboarding or starting a job. I've talked to actually with someone in your company. I'm working with one of your game studios, right now. And we had a call earlier this week, and it was like, one of the poor fellow actually literally just started 6 weeks ago too. So I can't even. We all had relationships maybe with our coworkers and stuff prior, we're used to working too. So it's kind of easier to pick that up, but I can't imagine beginning to. But anyway, I want to move on,
sure.
from that too is, and let's talk, let's talk about what kind of just a broad question, and, let's keep it, to the point, what challenge outside of COVID-19, those challenges, any other challenges that are currently facing the mobile industry as we, and maybe how's that compared to kind of years past? Eric, if you could offer your point of view.
So, well, I had a opportunity to talk to my head of studio, Sami, today, and we were talking about a new thing, which is this with iOS 14. Users will be able to organize their apps in this kind of like a gallery on the home screen. So, we're now doing this App Store optimization. So are we going to do like in-phone optimization in the future? And, like how to make sure that if the iPhone is starting to show apps dynamically in some kind of collections, and then like which app it shows first inside that collection, that how do you make sure that your app is high up there, or how do we optimize the game so that Siri can give suggestions that, hey, you're having lunch now, and you probably would like to have a match of Drive Ahead,
I do.
Okay. or like what kind of a widget could we create for the home screen related to our game? Is it maybe like, hey, I want to know how I'm doing on the leaderboard. Am I going to go to the higher league or not? Or like, does it let me know like how far I'm progressing in collecting the reward for some live ops event or something like that? So these are like new areas to think about. Very small thing, but just it's very recent.
Right, very recent, but also you kind of highlight also the importance. It's like, we live in this duopoly world, and you're talking about iOS 14, right? That's that's the challenges kind of similar too. Maybe sticking on iOS 14, and I was going to mention this earlier, and I'll ask you, Fraser, this question, and feel free to add anything else you want about maybe challenges you'd like. But it's we just a couple of days ago was the Apple's so the worldwide developer conference, right? And they announced iOS 14. They announced a whole bunch of good stuff, as they are wont to do. They also announced quite a bit of privacy protections, too. So frankly, as a human being, as a consumer, I'm actually quite pleased with a lot of what they said. But within that is deprecation of IDFA, or the advertiser ID, and that's certainly been something that performance marketers and us within the gaming industry have relied on to measure effectiveness of advertising and customer acquisition and campaigns, right? So is this a big deal, Fraser? With that, really, almost ad technology as exists today may not exist, tomorrow.
I remember there was a similar furore when Apple made it impossible for developers to track the UDID, about 10 years ago. I think that, I think that, like, honestly, I tend to err on the side of trusting Apple when it comes to these kinds of decisions, although I know that it does create a lot of difficulties for a lot of our trusted partners in the industry. Because Apple, I think the through line of all of its products over the last 5 years, it used to be that Apple was known for design, and I think it still is to a certain extent. But if I look at the through line over its products and services over the last 5 years, the thing that really strikes me is the focus on privacy and individual security. And I think that it's a very consumer-first, consumer-centric approach, and they're thinking much more about what benefits every individual consumer rather than the kind of what benefits the ecosystems in the industry. Because what Apple's learned, I think, over the last decade or more since the App Store has been around, is that the industry adapts to kind of fall in line because there's just such volume there, it always will. So I suspect that, and this is going to cause a short-term problem for the advertising business, but it's not one that's insurmountable. I'm sure there's going to be other ways for them to find ways of providing value to people that are on the sell side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I kind of agree with you. It's kind of a consumer-centric focus. Let's face it, Apple's selling primarily hardware, and it's unclear whether they even like games, despite all the money they from it. But
it's true. It's true.
Yeah, Albert, anything you'd like to? I mean, not necessarily about IDFA or the advertising technique, but unless you do have something to add there, or maybe just challenges that you see in today's marketplace and for games, how it compares.
Yes, I think related with what you were talking about. I think in my opinion is like it's good that they're like focused on the consumer, on the player, and then the industry will adapt. I think at some point we need to fight a little bit ourselves from being like workers in the industry and think about, of course, people. And it's like if we think it's better for our privacy and stuff, the industry will follow and will find workarounds for sure. And I think it's part of the dynamic of the mobile free-to-play ecosystem and the tech in general. No, it's evolving and reinventing, and innovating, and never stays the same way. That's also why it's so challenging and nice, honestly.
I think you're right, and we become very kind of reliant on like click attribution, as a way too. But look, other advertising, TV, other things had to rely on kind of more macro kind of level management too. So certainly, I think smart people figure this out, right? In terms of
exactly, and in terms of all the other things in the market, yes, for sure. I mean, it's like there's like, of course, more and more games are launched, more saturated, so it's difficult to outstand there. I think it's and there are a lot of just copies, and I think what is important on that field is that you do it before jumping into when you're building a game, understanding your audience. I don't think that many people focus on what is the audience, or they pay too much attention than just putting some numbers and saying like, 50% male, 50% female, that's fine. I think it's really, you need to really dig in. At the end, is like giving value to the market. And the way to do that is for sure with market in a quantitative point of view, but also user research, understanding your players, and trying to figure out which features will make you outstand and make the players choose you instead of the competitors that are already maybe in the market. I think that's the more you know about your customer, the better you will serve him, and the better it will replicate to you. So I think that's the way. First of all, instead of rushing, that's a way of approaching things. That's a way we're trying to approach things when it comes to which genres, which games do we target, and which developers do we work with, for sure.
Good. Sticking within kind of maybe app stores and kind of, this is kind of actually really does nice transition to sort of one of the important things. How do you stand up in the crowd? Eric, you mentioned about how, Drive Ahead has had a lot of, you had a lot of organic downloads and stuff too, which is enviable, I think for a lot of people too. Like, how do you stand out in these, crowded app stores, too? Or you give me tips or secrets, if you will.
Yeah. So I think it relates to strategy. So I think like the biggest problem I see in game developers having, I don't have that problem, but what other developers have is that everybody always wants to talk about the next game they're developing. But for example, I don't develop games, I develop the studio that makes the game. So what is the strategy? And what is your business model? And how does that business model allow you to grow your game, to scale it? So, we have the hyper casual studios, they struggle with paid UA. They have to bring more progression and meta to further monetize. Then the high LTV games, there's only a handful of them that can scale. At every conference, you meet somebody who says that we had a high LTV game, but we just couldn't get the UA to work. Mm-hmm. IP portfolio companies like Rovio are taking a beating in the stock market. They can't compete with the paid user acquisition. So it's really tough competition. Then, you could try to be a platform like Roblox, but who of us know how to create a platform where consumers and developers have exchange? So for us, it was finding our own niche. So that's bringing players or bringing people shared moments of thrill. We felt that a lot of the games provide competition against faceless strangers. So that's why we focus on these local multiplayer games. And having a game that's watchable. So Drive Ahead is a very rare example of a casual mobile game that people enjoy spectating or watching on YouTube. So these are how we get our organic downloads, and we're now going through a business model transformation where our original business model was a little bit too reliant on ad revenue, and now by growing the team and bringing great people and having the original team learn. We also want to lift the lifetime value of our users, and we actually turned a 5-year-old standalone offline game into a live service a month ago. So basically rewrote every part of every feature in the game to work with our backend, and now we can finally update, optimize, and even sometimes fix the game from the server. So it's finding your own focus.
Okay. What about Fraser? Anything you'd like to add? How do you launch a game in today's very competitive and crowded, app store?
I'd build on Eric's point there on focus. I think one of the things that a lot of developers chase, quite understandably, but I don't think it's the right strategy, is they're always kind of chasing the hot new thing. I come across a lot of developers who are they're like, okay, the hot new thing this season is auto chess, or it's like now, or I'm going to, carve out a part of my studio and do hyper casual. It's like always about, okay, where's the kind of next frontier of innovation? But if you look at where the most successful games are coming from, not just at highly scaled companies and publishers like Scopely, but also at kind of like mid-level companies that are kind of building their way up and creating these sort of tier 1 successes over time and ending up being highly scaled companies themselves. Focus is the differentiator. And I think I've always been a very big proponent personally of craft over innovation. And Scopely really, I think, is the sort of embodiment of that value. Like when we look at the market, we don't think, okay, what's the hot new innovative thing that we can do and kind of like try and jump on that bandwagon? We look at the market and we say, maybe it makes sense to build a solitaire game, or maybe it makes sense to build another match 3 RPG or another strategy game. But let's make sure that when we do it, it's the absolute best version of that product that we can possibly make, and that it's going to have guaranteed top grossing potential. So I think it's easy for a company like Scopely to say that in some ways, because we have the benefit of all this technology and all the rest of it that we spent so much time and money building out. But I think that a real key thing that I look for in a developer, and I think that the market responds to as well, is this kind of singular focus and commitment to building the best possible version of a product within a specific genre.
Okay, good. And just maybe build on that a little bit, just quickly, if you could move on to it. But you could just
Sure.
About working with developers, which I know is part of your job too, launching games too, and also you guys did like we just said about, looking at a game, whether it can make a Jim, you launch a new Scrabble game, right? There are a lot of other Scrabble games you do quite well.
Right.
But the way you did it was interesting too, or Scopely did it, right? You kind of, you partnered with then Pure Play, independent company, and I guess gave money to kind of set the game, but then you end up acquiring them too. Is this, how has the developer publisher landscape changed? You're going to see more of this type of deals?
Yeah, I think you'll certainly see more of those kinds of deals from Scopely, and we've iterated on our model over a number of years to get to the point now where we're very comfortable with the engagement model that we have, and it's a stated objective of our company to build the best portfolio of tier 1 free-to-play games companies in the West. And we really truly believe that the best way to do that is to invest in a big way and provide a lot of resources and support to the developers that you're working with. And the very logical conclusion of doing that is that it leads to an acquisition at some point in time. So we did that with Digit, and we did that with Pure Play, and I'm sure that we're going to be doing that again with some of our other partners in the future.
To be announced. Albert, anything you want to add? We don't necessarily, we can move on unless you're a massive, company. Do you use external developers? Any comments on this developer publisher landscape, or should we just, move on to, on another
No, it's fine. Just regarding the trends, one comment I would say is we have sometimes when we approach developers or they approach us, and based on this, exactly this trend of acquiring, sometimes they get, I would say that's not the right logic sometimes that they get is starting conversations which is the probability, or kind of to be acquired by you. And I would say that would not be the mindset. I wouldn't suggest to anyone to be the mindset from a developer point of view. So first, let's build something that is the best quality, best product, best in class that we can launch. And then other conversations might come, and as Fraser said, there are acquisitions there. But I've seen, especially the last months, many companies more approaching, or when you approach them, instead of sometimes talking about the project and the product and the game itself, what is it what is it going to be outstanding, focusing sometimes on things that is wait, focus on the game, the other things might come if they come. That would be the only point that I've noticed lately. Not everyone, but some developers.
What would you a little bit, Albert, is what is the because I'm thinking about growth also here. Most people sort of just tend to kind of design their games for the U.S. market, or maybe just China, and then kind of same game other places. Tell me about your thoughts about international expansion as a way to fuel growth, and how do you maybe optimize your games for different countries? How does that work for you? Is that a good idea? What any thoughts on that?
Yes, in our case, of course, we're targeting first things first, and of course we're going for tier 1 countries, especially main market US. And also especially because what happens in the US resonates or replicates in some other tier 1 countries around Europe, for example. However, depending on the games, of course, we're trying to build with, for example, localization, for example, being sensitive to some markets in particular, whereas it wouldn't make sense just to apply something generic. It's I think it's would not be respecting the players on those markets. So yes, we're trying to incorporate, when we develop our games, thinking always how can we make that this game is approachable in this country, on these other countries, that either the IP or the game might have a lot of fans, or either we think that going with something generic might cause some confrontation, because it's not it might not be respected in the country. So it's something that we consider when we develop the games, but always trying to adapt, starting focused so far in tier 1 and expand.
What that's good. What that's Eric, you talked about live ops as being kind of important part. Kind of focusing on and drive ahead there too. Can you have any sort of specific sort of tips or ideas for Poe on what you can do to engender loyalty from existing players?
Yeah, I think with us at Dodreams, the focus is on having career goals and a sense of progression. And I think to continue a little bit of what Albert brought up, I think you have to try to be authentic and be yourself. So that's why in Drive Ahead you get points by hitting your friend in the head with a car, because it makes people, regardless of cultural and national borders, chuckle. And I've been saying that same thing for 5 years now, and always people laugh. So I think that's kind of, so we can't start micro optimizing our game for different regions. Though of course I do find that like when we've been able to hire more international people into the team, it kind of like broadens our understanding and makes the game better. Of course, we operate in a global market, but yeah, that's kind of like how could we be authentic in a Finnish way as a Finnish developer, though we're not all Finnish nationals, making this crazy car fight game.
Cool. All right. It was a leading question a little bit, because we do loyalty programs. But so has any one of you done anything with loyalty programs or VIP, or so kind of where you're segmenting players, treating it differently as a way to engender loyalty? Okay, no.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've done a range of things at Scopely across. There's so many different monetization strategies that you can employ. I think the points that both Eric and Albert are touching on there go for us as well. We really feel strongly that a good player experience is one that's highly sort of personalized. That you have the respect for the player, that you're trying to find ways to create an experience that is as tailored as possible to them and their behavior. Right. And so, and that requires very powerful infrastructure, but it's also, I think, the thing that drives the best player experience.
What you would do, again, Fraser, then what, recent you mentioned monetization, what recent monetization trends or new innovative ideas have you seen that you think is interesting?
Oh man, see, I always, it's really hard whenever I get asked this kind of question, because I always feel a little bit like everyone's always looking for kind of, what's the one thing I can do? What's the one thing I can take away from this talk from a monetization perspective that's going to help me increase the monetization efficacy of my game? And it's so hard to comment on that when you don't weigh into like all of the complexities of genre and the ways in which different audiences respond to visual presentation or IP or whatever it might be. So I don't really have any like kind of specific tips to give people on monetization. It's kind of like the old sort of kung fu thing. There are no secrets. Practice, practice, practice. It's like, yeah.
Fair enough. The time has really run here. I don't know, Igor, can we keep going, or do we, if we have some questions?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ted. And I don't see that we have any questions, and we really have to round up the panel. Okay. So I believe all of you are registered on WN Hub platform and for the Hamburg Mobile Summit live as well. So if the attendees have any questions or would want to get in touch with you, they will be able to find you on the platform.
Contact us, everyone out there. Gentlemen, if any other parting thoughts, otherwise, I want to just, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to a day where we can all be at a conference together in the same room.
Likewise, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay.
Thanks for organizing this, Ted, and congratulations, Albert. Oh, sorry, that's not working with the background. I saw on LinkedIn 3 hours ago you were promoted, man.
It's true. Yeah.
Congrats, Ted. Awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So Albert is what was it? The director for product and live ops or something. So
exactly.
Congratulations.
Great stuff. Congrats, guys. Excellent.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot, Ted.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye, guys, and take care. Thank you.